resource library, you can download the 3 guidelines to consistency, okay? And what we're going to do now is we're going to talk about the third guideline that's in there. It gives you a quick overview of it, but I wanted to dig a little bit more into this to hopefully help you understand the importance of how this impacts consistency. So the third one is embrace predictability, okay? So we all know that the ability to change is really fundamental in business, right? This isn't the first time that you've heard that. There's tons of books that have been written on it. There's whole books volumes of books that have been based solely on that. There's studies, Harvard Business Review documents, or white papers, all kinds of stuff that talk about the ability to change and how important it is, big picture in your business, for you to be able to succeed, right? But that's kind of step 2. Step 1 is we have to know whether it's a good reason to change or not, right? And that's where we got to know what to expect. That's where we have to know what is predictable, and we have to and we've got to embrace the importance of predictability. If you know that when change happens, if you know what to expect on the front end, if you are able to figure out or embrace predictability on what is supposed to happen, it allows you to better decide when change happens whether that's good or bad change. Okay, so let me give you an example. So early on in my real estate career, I had a friend in another town that was kind of adjacent to ours, and she opened a real estate office, and she had probably 15, 19 agents, something along that line. And there was a cultural shift in another office that had been there for a very long time. It had been in that same town that she was in for a very long time. And almost overnight, she jumped from having 15 or 19 agents with her doing the bulk of the production to jumping within probably a 30-day period of having about 35 or 40 agents in her office, and all of them were really productive agents. Okay, so she did what most people want to do, and she, that's change. She embraced it, right? She grabbed onto it. A year and a half later, she's building. She opened a couple of other offices to kind of accommodate for these people, and she built a really big building because, of course, she didn't think that was the end of the growth, and she had her name on some leases in some other places. And within a 3-month period, about 2 years after she acquired all of these people, she lost all of her agents. And it went from about 35, 40 people down to 7 agents. And the 7 that were left were not really productive agents. So most of them went to an office that they kind of created themselves. Some of the people just decided to leave, right, and get out of her office, and just went to other offices that they were in. Here's what happened. This is the big picture, and then we'll talk about why we have to embrace the predictability, and why we've got to talk about change, and how we make sure that with a change that we're accepting is the right kind of change. Okay. It was a big cultural fit when all of those people came into the office. Up until that point, she was absolutely the dominant figure in her office, because she was the highest producing person. She was the one that was driving a lot of the business. A lot of the people were there for supportive reasons and doing business off of her business. All of these other people come in there, and they started bringing their own business, and it changed the overall culture of the office. Okay, so it made it different than how it was whenever she was just doing it, whenever she was doing the bulk of it by herself. So the major change was there began to be other people that were driving forces. And so what happened is it fragmented the culture she had. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing. However, that wasn't exactly the direction that she wanted her office to go in. And because she wasn't prepared for it, when this culture shifted, when the culture changed, and different people started becoming important in the culture and driving some of the culture, it wasn't comfortable for her. And so she started doing things and acting in ways that eventually drove people away, drove people off. So when you're looking to grow, here's some questions to make sure that you ask, that are going to help you ensure that the change that's happening is change that you know what to expect from it, whether it's good or bad, because there's some predictability on the front end, because you asked questions and benchmarked and measured before the change started to happen. So one, if we're talking about recruiting, which we always are, right? Are they a fit for your vision? Okay, so in other words, does the agent that you're hiring, do they look at or appreciate or align with whatever your unique selling proposition is, whatever your USP is? Okay, so do they look at the key things, the fundamental things that you think are important? Do they agree that they're important? They don't have to be in the same priority order, but do they agree that those things are important? Okay, so there has to be a vision of fit on the USP. Okay. The second thing is, do we want the same thing out of the business? Okay, so here's one of the things that she ran into, and I've seen other managers run into it also whenever they're looking to grow. If you're a manager that just goes out, or a broker owner that just goes out and is like, you know what, I need somebody that's a great listing agent. I'm gonna hire a loss leader. I'm just gonna go get this person. I'm gonna bring them in. And I want them to just come in and just start churning out some listings, and hopefully some of the other agents will get up and follow suit and move in that direction. That is a great thing, as long as fundamentally that person does business and works that hard for a similar or the same reason that you do. If all they're in it for is the money, and your values are family values, you want real estate to be something that allows you to have the lifestyle with your family that you want to have, and this other person coming in is just someone that wants to churn and burn and get as much business as they can, and they don't care about family and helping people and being customer centric. That type of growth, if they don't want the same thing out of the business, that type of growth is only going to splinter who it is in your, how the other people in your marketplace, how they see you. Because what they're going to see is whoever that other person is that is the leader, they're going to assume that that is how your whole office is, right? You're only as strong as the weakest link, is the old business saying, right? So you have to make sure that somebody looks at it similar to what you look at it from a value standpoint, and what do they want to get out of the business. So the other thing is, whenever it comes to growth, and whether or not the change is good change, and you have to be able to predict on the front end whether your systems can withstand the growth that you're looking to have. Okay, so this is a really important one. You can't go hire 28 people in 1 month if you have one administrative staff that's part-time, right? No matter how much you have a freedom shop, or no matter how much the agent is supposed to go and do it themselves, or whatever the deal is, you have to make sure that you have the systems in place that are going to support the type of growth that you want. So you have to embrace the predictability of how well your system supports the people you currently have, in order for you to look forward to whether the growth that you're having is good or bad growth for you. Okay? Because keep in mind, what is good growth for you might not be good growth for the brokerage right next to you, and vice versa. The brokerage right next to you, what's great growth for them might be terrible for you. And so, and the last one that we'll discuss right now is, do I measure the same things that they measure? Okay? So this one is huge for predictability, whenever it comes to embracing predictability. Whenever it comes time for you to decide that you've been successful, it has to be similar to how they decide they're successful, okay? So if you're all about selling as many homes as you can possibly sell, then other agents that look at it that same way, they're going to end up being a good fit for the office. And culturally, they're going to promote what you're trying to accomplish with your business, because they're demonstrating that in how they do their business. If that's not how you measure success, then don't hire someone like that. So here's the biggest thing that brokers run into whenever it comes to this kind of stuff, that they kind of have to be reprogrammed, for lack of a better way of putting it. There is enough good agents out there that you are going to be able to help them and be profitable at the level that you want. There are enough good agents that are a good fit. Look at it like this way. There's some agents in offices that are in the same market that you're in, that if they were in your environment would support them in a way that would allow them to succeed more than they already are. There are other agents that if they left the situation they're in and they came to your situation, they would be less productive than they are in that other environment. Your job as a recruiting manager is to, one, understand there is abundance of people that would be good in your environment. And two, it's your job to set up a funnel so that you're constantly getting in front of those people. And one of the big parts of that funnel, like I said just a second ago, is, do they measure the same thing I measure? Is being in the President's Elite Club something that is important to them? Is selling the most homes in the neighborhood something that is the most important to them? What is it that makes them tick? Is it the same thing that makes you tick? Because if your systems are in place to measure certain things, and you hire someone that does not measure those same things, it's a whole different group of metrics that they think are important, you're going to have a hard time having them feel comfortable in your environment. Just have that conversation whenever you're going through the recruiting process with them, when you're going through the interview process with them. Have those conversations and make sure that they measure the same things that you measure. So the bottom line, if you know that change is fundamental and you know that you have to accept change when it comes along, then you also have to understand before that you have to expect certain results so that you can appreciate the change that happens when it happens, because you'll know that it is the right type of change for you because you predicted the results in the front end, the change happened because of it, and you had an idea of what some of the outcome would be, whether it would be good for you or not. And as always with Prospect Boomerang, let us know what we can do. We just want to be part of the win.